Minsu's father stood there angrily, looking at Sun Jin. He told him that he had the audacity to show up at his house after what he had done to his daughter. Sun Jin, feeling remorseful, insisted that he wanted to see Minsu and talk to her. He apologized for hurting her and pleaded for a chance to speak with her. However, Minsu's father stepped closer to him and firmly stated that he was not allowed to see his daughter ever again. He ordered him to leave and never return, warning that if he ever saw him again, there would be worse consequences. With that, he walked back inside the house and shut the door in Sun Jin's face. Despite this, Sun Jin remained outside the door. There was too much he needed to say to Minsu, and more than anything, he missed her. Just seeing her face and holding her again would ease the heartache he was feeling. Determined, he knocked on the door, calling out her name. Inside, Minsu sat with her father. The moment she heard Sun Jin's voice, her heart skipped a beat. Just the sound of his voice melted her entirely, as if she had been longing for it all this time. Instinctively, she stood up to run to the door, but her father stopped her. He questioned whether she was really rushing to meet the man who had caused her so much pain, making her cry day and night. He made it clear that he would not allow it, and reminded her that hurting her was the same as hurting him. Minsu stood frozen, realizing that her father was right. As much as she loved Sun Jin, he had put her through too much pain for her to simply rush into his arms, as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, outside, Sun Jin continued knocking and calling her name, desperately trying to see her. Her father turned to her and said that while he did not know the full story of what had happened between them, the fact that Sun Jin had hurt her was enough reason for him to resent him. He then mentioned that they were about to leave for the restaurant and asked if she was ready to go outside and face him. Minsu nodded, and her father reassured her that he would be with her every step of the way. Sun Jin remained outside, lost in thoughts of Minsu. At that moment, nothing else mattered but her. He was willing to do whatever it took to have her in his arms again. As he stood there, the door suddenly opened, and Minsu and her father walked out. Sun Jin immediately ran toward her, calling her name and trying to talk to her. However, Minsu ignored him and walked straight to the car. He continued pleading, asking for just a minute to talk, but she did not say a word. She got into the car and her father followed, driving away. Sun Jin tried to run after the car but could not catch up. He stood in the middle of the road, watching them disappear into the distance, his heart breaking. He knew he deserved every bit of this pain. He was ready to accept any punishment thrown his way as long as he could have a chance to hold her again. Without hesitation, he rushed to his car and sped off, determined to follow her. At the restaurant, Minsu and her father arrived, and she immediately went to her mother, who stood behind the counter. Her mother, delighted to see her, expressed how happy she was to see her smiling again. Minsu responded that she had to smile eventually, especially since she was spending time with them. Looking around, she noticed how busy the restaurant was and asked her mother if she could help. Her mother suggested she assist with some tables, and without wasting time, Minsu grabbed an apron and got to work. Sun Jin soon arrived at the restaurant. He stepped out of his car and walked inside, taking a seat while looking around for Minsu. He was desperate to see her again. A moment later, Minsu emerged from the kitchen. Her mother pointed to a table and asked her to assist the customer sitting there. When she realized it was Sun Jin, her expression changed, but she smiled at her mother and agreed to serve him. She walked to his table, pulled out her notepad, and, treating him like any other customer, asked what he would like to order. Sun Jin stared at her. Just seeing her up close made him happy. Breaking the silence, Minsu reminded him that she was waiting for his order. Instead of answering, Sun Jin stood up and told her that he just needed a few minutes to talk. He acknowledged that she was upset and that he was willing to take the blame for everything. He pleaded with her for a moment of her time. Minsu, with a cold expression, told him that if he was not ready to order, she was walking away. As she turned to leave, Sun Jin grabbed her hand. Before she could react, Her father appeared at the table, asking if there was a problem. Sunjin immediately let go of Minsu's hand, and she walked away. Her father stepped closer to Sunjin and reminded him that he had warned him to stay away from his daughter. He accused him of crossing a boundary by coming to their restaurant.